Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the grand sunrise over the Pride Lands, the golden light cascading over the vast savanna, the sound of roaring filling the air. The circle of life begins, majestic, powerful, unbroken. Now, imagine the Lion King without Scar. Would the story still be legendary? Would Simba's journey feel as powerful? Would the Pride Lands still stand as a symbol of leadership, redemption, and destiny? The answer is simple: no. Scar wasn't just a villain. He was the villain. The kind that doesn't just take the throne, but takes the very soul of a kingdom. He wasn't a sorcerer like Jafar. He didn't wield dark magic like Maleficent. He didn't need potions or spells. Scar's greatest weapon wasn't his claws. It was his mind. But what made him different from every other Disney villain? What made his betrayal so unforgettable? Why does he still haunt our minds decades later, long after the credits rolled? To understand, we must go back to where it all began, back to a time before betrayal, before the scars, both seen and unseen, back to the moment when Scar was just a forgotten prince standing in the shadow of a king. Before he became Scar, he was known as Taka, a prince, a brother, a lion with a destiny. But destiny can be cruel. Unlike Mufasa, who was born strong with a voice that commanded attention, Taka was smaller, leaner, overshadowed from the very moment he took his first breath. The animals of the Pride Lands whispered about Mufasa, the future king, the one blessed by the great kings of the past. They marveled at his strength, his courage, his effortless ability to lead. And Taka? He was there, always there, standing just behind, watching. The kingdom adored Mufasa. The animals respected him. The great kings of the past whispered their approval in the night sky. But for Taka, there was only silence. Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever watched someone else take everything you ever wanted simply because they were born first? Imagine standing in the shadow of someone who will always be seen as greater. That's what Taka lived with day after day. At first, it was just frustration, a quiet envy that sat in his chest like a heavy stone. He told himself it wasn't fair, but he swallowed the bitterness. After all, Mufasa was his brother, his family. But the resentment, it grew. With every passing day, with every moment that his father looked at Mufasa with pride while barely sparing him a glance, it festered. And then something happened. Something that changed him forever. A scar. Some stories say a buffalo injured him. Others whisper that it was Mufasa's doing. An accident, a brotherly fight gone too far. Some say he did it to himself in a moment of rage. Whatever the truth is, the result was the same. A deep wound both on the outside and inside. From that day forward, he was no longer Taka. He was Scar. But what makes him terrifying isn't just why he turned evil, it's how. Because Scar didn't need brute strength. He didn't need magic. His greatest weapon wasn't his claws, it was his mind. And soon, he would use it to change the Pride Lands forever. Scar didn't have brute strength. He couldn't roar louder than Mufasa. He couldn't command the sky like a god. But what he had was something far more dangerous: his mind. In the world of Disney villains, power comes in many forms. Gaston had muscle, Ursula had dark magic, Jafar needed a lamp to change his fate, but Scar, he only needed one thing: a moment of weakness. And when he found it, he used it to tear apart everything. Unlike other villains, Scar didn't conquer by force. He played the long game. Every move was calculated, every word sharpened like a knife. He didn't just defeat Mufasa, he outsmarted him. Think about it. He didn't storm the throne room with an army. He didn't challenge Mufasa in front of the kingdom. That would have been foolish. Mufasa was stronger, respected, and beloved. No one would have followed Scar. Instead, he waited, he observed, he learned Mufasa's greatest strength, his devotion to his family. And that's what Scar used against him. He knew Mufasa would die for his son, so Scar set the perfect trap, the stampede. A moment of panic, a test of loyalty, a desperate call for help, and then the moment of betrayal. Scar didn't just push Mufasa to his death. He made sure he was looking him in the eyes when it happened. He made sure Mufasa knew it was him, that it had always been him. That was the true cruelty of Scar's plan. But it didn't stop there. Because Scar wasn't just trying to take the throne, he was erasing any chance of a challenge. Mufasa was gone, but Simba was a loose end. So Scar did what no other villain had done before. He didn't just go after the hero physically, he broke him psychologically. Instead of killing Simba himself, he let guilt do the work. Run away, Simba. Run away and never return. Think about how insidious that was. He made Simba believe it was his fault. He made Simba believe he had no home, no family, no future, and it worked. Scar took everything, and he did it without a single drop of blood on his own paws. That's why Scar is the most dangerous villain Disney has ever created. But here's the real question. Was Scar truly just evil, or was there something more behind his choices? Did he really want the throne, or did he just want to matter? Once Scar took the throne, he had everything he had ever wanted, or at least that's what he thought. For years, he had dreamed of ruling the Pride Lands. He had imagined the power, the respect, the kingdom bowing before him. And yet, when he finally sat on the throne, something was missing. Because a true king doesn't just take power, he earns it. And Scar? He had only ever ruled through fear. At first, the hyenas were loyal. They laughed at his jokes, followed his every command, and patrolled the Pride Lands like his personal army. But soon, even they began to question him. Scar had made promises of endless food, of a golden age under his rule. But the herds were gone. The rivers dried up, the sky turned gray, and the once great Pride Lands became a wasteland. Because Scar had no plan to build, only to take. And here's the truth no one ever talks about. Scar wasn't just a villain, he was a failure. He thought being king meant having control. But real kings, true leaders, hold something Scar never had: loyalty. Mufasa ruled with wisdom and strength. The kingdom respected him. Even the hyenas feared him. But Scar? The moment things started falling apart, his own allies turned on him. Because fear is a fragile thing. You can make others tremble, you can make them bow, but the moment they stop fearing you, you have nothing left. And deep down, Scar knew it. That's why when Simba returned, Scar didn't just fight him, he tried to break him. He didn't attack first. He used his greatest weapon, his voice. Instead of clawing or biting, Scar spoke. He slithered into Simba's mind, planting doubt like a poisoned seed. Tell them who's responsible for Mufasa's death. A single sentence, and suddenly, Simba wasn't a challenger, he was a broken cub all over again. Scar wasn't just trying to win, he was trying to make Simba destroy himself. And for a moment, it almost worked. Simba stumbled, he hesitated, the weight of guilt. The guilt Scar had carefully placed on him for years came crashing back. But there was one thing Scar hadn't planned for: the truth. Because the moment Scar let his secret slip, the moment he whispered, "I killed Mufasa," his entire empire collapsed. The hyenas turned on him, the lionesses rose up, and Scar, the king who had fought so hard to seize power, was suddenly alone. Because in the end, the kingdom had never truly belonged to him, and it never would. Why Scar is Disney's greatest villain? Scar wasn't just a bad guy, he was a legend. For decades, Disney has created some of the most unforgettable villains in animation: Maleficent, Ursula, Jafar, Hades. But Scar is different. He didn't rely on magic. He didn't need an enchanted object or a spell. Scar's weapon was his mind. He was intelligent, he was manipulative, and he changed the course of history with one act of betrayal. But what makes him truly terrifying isn't just what he did, it's why he did it. Most villains have simple motives: power, greed, revenge. But Scar, his darkness was personal. He was born in the shadow of a great king. He spent his entire life watching as the world celebrated Mufasa while ignoring him. The lionesses adored Mufasa. The kingdom followed him. Even the great kings of the past seemed to whisper only his name. And Scar, he was just there. Can you imagine living your whole life being told you're second best, that no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how much you prove yourself, you will never be the chosen one? That changes a person. And in Scar's case, it turned him into something unstoppable. He didn't just want power, he wanted recognition. He wanted the kingdom to see him for once, to prove that he was just as worthy as Mufasa. And so he did something no other Disney villain had done before. He played the long game. Scar didn't just overthrow a king, he outsmarted him. He orchestrated everything. The stampede, not an accident. The desperate plea for help, planned. The final betrayal, cold, calculated, and flawless. Scar didn't need a war. He didn't need an army. He took down one of the greatest kings in Disney history with nothing but words, deception, and a single deadly moment of weakness. Even after Mufasa was gone, Scar's manipulation didn't stop. He broke Simba's mind before he even had a chance to grow up. He planted guilt so deep that it haunted Simba for years, forcing him into exile, keeping him from ever reclaiming his throne. Scar wasn't just playing chess. He was playing 4D chess with the entire kingdom. But despite his brilliance, Scar made one fatal mistake. He thought ruling was about control. He believed fear would keep the Pride Lands in check, that he could force loyalty, just as he had forced Simba to run. But fear is fragile. Scar never understood what Mufasa did. True kings lead, they inspire, they don't just take power, they earn it. And so, Scar's kingdom rotted beneath him. The land withered. The herds left. Even his own allies, the hyenas, began to question him. And when the moment of reckoning came, Scar didn't go down with honor. He lied, he begged, and he tried to shift the blame onto those who had once served him. In the end, he wasn't just overthrown. He was devoured by the very creatures he once commanded. So let me ask you, do you think Scar was truly a monster? Or was he simply the wrong lion in the wrong place at the wrong time? Was he evil, or was he just desperate? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more Untold Lion King and Disney stories.